Good evening, everyone. Uh, some technical glitch this side. Just wanted to check. Can you guys hear me out, please? Uh, Here, raise your hands if you can hear me out. Thanks for the acknowledgement. Just give me 1 second. We're just starting in a minute. So welcome everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the seminar on CPA. And I'm sure you're all excited. So am I. So before first thing first, let me briefly introduce you guys about myself. So I'm Anubhav Verma, a chartered accountant and a CPA, holding diploma in IFRS, diploma in information systems audit. I have completed my master's in commerce. I'm graduate from Sri Ram College of Commerce. And I have been teaching CPA since 2008, since the time I have qualified myself. So this is again, things have not changed from a perspective of anxiety. Back in 13 years back, if I remember those days when I was myself looking forward for that, whether I should do CPA or not. And the biggest thing I learned that yes, if you are in a state of flux, that whether you should pursue something or not, and if it relates to education, you should definitely pursue. And especially in the present times, in terms of COVID pandemic, this is the best time to upgrade ourselves. Best way to utilize this time frame. So you know continuing with the importance of CPA. So if I recall my journey since 2008, I have been training students for CPA, various professionals who have already qualified, working in different companies. And apart from that, I have been taking other lectures like CMA, ACCA. I'm also a guest faculty with ICI in Delhi and with EduPristine since 2014. So that's about me. uh, so welcome you all. I'm sure you are looking forward for knowing many things about CPA. And before we start, let me ask a very simple question to you guys. Maybe you can use the Q&A panel to give an answer here. What is the passing percentage, or what is the minimum percentile required for clearing CPA exam? Let me see who answers me. Let me see who answers me. You know what? I saw almost 80% of you responding to that. That really calls for something. That really calls for huge. It's 75. And trust me, that's maybe the last time we are saying that it's 75. Why I'm saying that is, when we'll be going through the presentation, I will making you realize that, yes, minimum percentile is 75. But when you will be preparing for your course with the kind of materials, with the kind of trainings we all will be providing, with the kind of study guidance we'll be providing, you will be realizing that yes, somewhere down the line you should be preparing much higher than that, targeting much higher than that, because there is something called margin of safety. So we'll be talking about various important points. I request you guys that in all the CPA webinars, we always believe that it's a two-way traffic. And I believe that you guys would also have some queries in my mind, in your mind. So first, just wanted to request that maybe for first 20 minutes or half an hour, just allow me to walk through certain slides here. And then definitely we can take forward from there on, because I'm sure that most of your queries will be solved in the coming slides. So that is for sure. So let's start our discussion on the same. So we are talking about the US CPA benefits and opportunities here. First of all, of course, we talk about the significance. Again, from a significance perspective, we need to understand it's a global course. And when we talk about the demand, yes, COVID or pandemic has been a tough year for everyone. So has been 2020, but it's about to end. But I'm sure the economy will take its pace back as we enter 2021. So that means it's the right time where we can upskill ourselves by getting this qualification. So the employment opportunities will be back to its pace. That's pretty much sure. So we need to understand that there has been a study by AICPA, and that was a study which has been done in last few years, that all the members who have been working across the globe, 75% of those would be retiring in next decade. So gradually the demand, the market for CPA will definitely expand. And why knowledge of a global standards, US gaps, and IRS tax laws is required is that when we're talking about the change in the compliance, change in the technology, if you are working in a company, you are expected to know what are the global compliances, tax compliances and all. So that's something which is somewhere down the line, it's part and parcel of the job requirements. So also, when we talk about having a local qualification versus a global qualification, definitely it holds a lot of exponential growth potential for each one of you, because you will realize that once you rise in your career with a global qualification, definitely you will have a edge over your colleagues at some point of time. When we talk about the different roles as a CPA, then you can see that you can have opportunities in the business and financial analysis, risk and compliance teams, audit. So you can work in tax profile, audit profile, you can work in the budgeting profile, you can work in the accounting roles. So it's CPA is actually, it's more of a getting you a global license to work in different fields. So as I said, you might be having certain queries. You can raise your queries, you can mention your questions in the Q&A panel, but maybe just give me first 20 minutes, because I'm sure that 90% of your questions will be solved in the upcoming slides. One of the common questions I generally receive from the candidates is related to their evaluation and all. That is something you will be discussing with your respective coordinators, basis your background and all. So there is a separate team who works around that. So we'll park those things a little later. So just give me some time to go through certain initial slides, and I'm sure most of your queries will be resolved automatically. So that's what I was talking about. Then when we talk about relevance of a global degree from recognition perspective, it's important that we all understand that it's more of a US course. Of course there are other global courses as well, but US course definitely has always an edge, as has been shown by the experience of different professionals. Also, there are few things which I would like to add on, that it takes relatively lesser time to complete, like unlike Indian courses and other professional courses, which takes like 4 years, 5 years. If you plan well, you can be a CPA within a year. Trust me. It's an average time. If you plan really well, you can clear your CPA within a year. And of course, from a global recognition perspective, whether you are at an entry level, or you're at a middle management level, or you're at a senior level, definitely you will hold plethora of opportunities. Now, these are certain, job opportunities where, I can add a very important point here, guys, is that when I look back the job description somewhere 10 years before, I didn't mention that even I have had industry experience. I've worked in companies like KPMG, EXL Services, Whirlpool, or Excel, Catlin, which is AXA Excel now. So I've worked in those organizations. I've had more than 10 years of industry experience. And those days when I was in corporates, I saw job descriptions like CA or CPA, MB Finance or CPA. Now they are not mentioning or. Most of the job descriptions have in addition to. So generally they require CPA anyways, because they want someone who has the global knowledge of US GAAP and tax and all. So that's very important. And from an experience perspective, yes, they need someone who has worked in, for example, this is a simple job description of a VP level. Of course, at a high level, you have less operational requirements, but more of a strategic requirements. But yes, the qualification, you can see it's a CPA. That's what they're looking for. So basically, the most probably the position for this candidature might be filling in with CA plus an international qualification, as it looks it. Similarly here, the McAfee senior accountant. So here I was talking about, you can see the word or, CA or CPA or CMA degree. So some job descriptions have, eliminated that or, but even if there is a or, you yourself know which degree is easier to get done and dusted. So you don't want to spend 5 years or, getting articleship, or you want to go some longer durations, or you rather study for less than, maybe 12 months or 18 months at max, and, be clearing CPA with hardly 4 subjects. Also, most of the exam is objective exam, and you don't need to do a lot of rectification or mugging over there. Let's see more examples here. Like this is a KPMG job description. Again, you can see CPA as a required, as essential skills required. Then you have an industry. So you can see CPA preferred. So that's internal audit. So all these are different, job profiles. Then again, we have Amazon, core energy, senior manager. So whether it is a starting level of a career or senior level, you can see CPA highly desirable because they need someone would be having. So what about these industrial requirements? These companies might be either having a parent company in US, or they themselves had operations in US, and that's why they are looking for professionals who are having that global qualification. So yes, all these are the job descriptions. So US CPA always have been in demand, and you can see it's one of the top positions for various organizations. Now again, from different countries perspective, that some studies have taken place, which countries or have given which course as a qualification, as a preference. You can yourself look around, when you want to Google out something. So this is again a study from, again, one of the magazines over there. So US CPA exam details. I think that's pretty much the piece you all are waiting to look at for. So there are 3 E's here, how to get a CPA. Now, the initial thing is your education. You have to have some minimum education credentials in terms of, credit hours. You need to have certain credits to be eligible to sit in the exam itself. That's the area I was talking about. You all might be having versatile background. So maybe this may not be the right place to comment on your eligibility. What we can do is, once you have attended this session, our coordinators will get back to you. You can share your educational background with them, and they will guide you with with which particular state you are eligible. Because in US, there are multiple state boards having different requirements for exams as well as license. So the license is a secondary stage. First thing is for examination. So basically, when we talk about a complete CPA, that means CPA with a licensure, you need to have 3 E's: education, then clear your exam, and then there is certain states having a experience requirement as well. As I said, every state board will have different requirements. So you may not be able to retain by heart, obviously. It's better that you share your credentials with our coordinators, and they will study, they will map in your background with the state requirements, and they will recommend these are the states where a candidature like you might fit in for the exam and or for license as well. So that's the requirement. So what are the education requirements? As I said, that vary among the states. So general rule is 150 credit hours, which is generally have a 5-year college education, within which 24 accounting and 24 business credit. So we can't convert here, right? So you and me can't just convert. Okay, you have done accounting in 2 years in your graduation, 2 years in your schooling, or maybe 1 year in your post graduation. So what is the credits? How, whether it comes to 24, whether it comes to 28.5 or something like that. So there are experts who are doing that. So they will guide you on this, whether your education requirements actually, or minimum education, meets that 150 or not. However, even if it doesn't meet 150, the world is not lost. There are certain states, they can even allow you to sit for the exam for 120 hours or even lesser. Now that is for only for exams. Later on, if you want to apply for license, then you can worry about some remaining requirements by taking up some course or something like that. So the first focus should be clearing your exams. License should not be a worry at this point of time. Yes, you can plan it simultaneously, that once you clear your exams, if someone is already a qualified person here, having like 5 to 7 years of experience in an MNC, those of you might be having already might be meeting those criteria. So for you, that roadway or that path to the licensure may be a little easier than someone who is just a fresher. So for the freshers or someone who's having just 1 or 2 years of experience, I would recommend, don't worry for license as of now. First plan for your exams and then plan for your license. So this is a very common question, that whether BCom graduates are okay to sit again. So there are certain recent changes for the Guam Board of Accountancy. So that's one state board here. So Guam candidates that don't currently meet the education requirements can now sit for the CPA exam, but are required to fulfill the education requirements within the 18 months from the day of taking the first exam. So that's something which is only with the Guam State Board. Now, the total number of credits by the Guam, again, Board of Accountancy will be increased to 150 credit hours on 15 December 2021. Don't you think that's again an incentive to actually decide today and enroll for CPA, so that you don't delay it? Because even the lenient of the state boards will strict their will make their regulations more stricter after a year. So again, it's more of a planning perspective, that you need to understand that maybe if the Guam State Board is the most lenient one, but there will be a day their requirements will also be as high as the other state boards. So again, they are now part of the mobility agreement, and it means Guam CPA or CPAs from other states can perform non-attest services in continental USA without getting a re-license. That means they're talking about more of a earlier, it was pretty much tough for the Guam CPAs to get licensed. You had more formalities to be completed, but now at least you can perform certain services from other states, even if you are from a Guam, you are registered CPA from Guam, but please, that is a non-attest services. So obviously, if you want to have a attestation services like an audit, then you may need to get a license of other state. So that's something, again, the licensing query. I am not taking it right now. Indian BCom graduates, again, so there are again some important pointers here. Arizona or Montana via WES. So that's again one evaluation body. Another evaluation body, would be NASBA. So must be an A ranking university, and the candidate has a first division throughout the study. So for again the management training, or the candidates must have again here for 8 to 9 accounting courses. This is specifically for these ones, right? So when we're talking about Montana, you need to have at least 8 to 9 accounting courses, including the financial accounting, auditing, taxation, and management accounting taken in second or third year of BCom. So what it means is, if you are an Indian BCom, the requirement are two basically. That means you need to have been doing from the A ranking university. So you need to check whether your university, like if you have done with a recognized university, which is an A ranked university, and you have a first division throughout the study. And the second requirement, if you are from Montana, then you are talking about at least 8 to 9 accounting courses, including the financial accounting, auditing, taxation, and management accounting in second or third year. Now, obviously, when we talk about BCom across various universities, subjects might differ. All you have to make sure is that you need to carry certain specific subjects as mentioned here. I was lucky in my days, there was no evaluation to be required. Being a chartered accountant, I was directly enrolled with Colorado State Board. Recently, there has been some changes that chartered accountants are also eligible again without any other requirements. So again, same thing which talks about the eligibility criteria here. Now, again, Indian BCom graduates, if you are a BCom, MCom, or a BCom plus MBA, then Alaska would be a good option. BCom plus CAs or ICWS, California or Alaska. And again, CA is not participant in international administration of the CPA exam. So candidates who sit for the exam in Dubai will choose the Alaska here. So again, we are talking about the California, not eligible for that perspective. So you need to choose Alaska for that purposes. And again, the BCom and CA inter, or BCom plus MCom part 1, that will be only Alaska. So I can see that different people will have different qualifications here. You can map yourselves among 1 or 2 states, but don't worry, the coordinators will anyways get your details for the evaluation thing. So these are the different jurisdiction I was talking about, different state boards having different requirements. So that's something, there are different websites. You can have much more details, like thisway2cpa.com will give you, on nasba.org. So that's where you will get much more information. So steps to become a US CPA. So again, first we need to understand. So see from top to bottom here. See from top to bottom. You have to qualify the state requirements, right? That's your education requirements. The first is state specific requirements. Then apply, submit your application, submit the payment for the exam, and receive NTS. So now another question comes to you guys. How many of you know what is NTS? Can anyone reply me on Q&A? What do you mean by NTS? Notice to schedule. What do you know by NTS? Notice to schedule, Prabodh. That's the full form. But anything else? What is notice to schedule? So basically what's happening is they are notifying you to schedule an exam. Now, once you pay the fees, yeah, so you can schedule your exam. The important point is that this NTS is valid for certain months. NTS is valid for certain months. Any idea how many months NTS is valid for? That's 6 months. Well, absolutely correct, Prabodh. So NTS is valid for 6 months. So that is very important. When we need to plan and finalize our examination month, we need to be pretty much sure that uh, that you need to have that particular planning as in affirmed, so that you don't miss your deadlines. For example, if I want to appear in the exam in April, I might apply for NTS because NTS itself might take 3 to 4 weeks maximum. uh, it sometimes these days, because of the pandemic, things have been different, but otherwise it used to take hardly 2 weeks off late. But yes, if I have to appear in the examination in the month of April, I might want to do apply for the NTS maybe the end of January or the first week of February. I can't delay it too much as well, because otherwise I may not get the desired dates at the different centers. You have to book certain slots. So, but you should not be booking too much in advance as well, because if God forbid I am not able to go in April, I will still be, if my NTS is granted in February, I still have bandwidth till August. So that's an advantage here. So once you apply, then you have to obviously, I would say the third point should be parallel, the preparation should be parallel. You should be really applying for NTS maybe 2.5 months prior, not before than that. So the studies should have been, so preparation, I would say it's a parallel approach. You can't delay the preparation once you get the NTS. Then of course, once you get the NTS, you schedule your exams with the prometric centers. And once you clear your exams, then of course, and if you have the work experience, or you have to complete your work experience, then you have to, if you want, you can apply for your CPA license as well. So this is your exam structure by section. So there are 4 subjects here. Uh, Auditing and attestation, 72 MCQs. You can see number of MCQs are different. So there are 2 testlets of MCQs, 36 for audit, 31 each for BEC, 33 each for FAR, and 38 for regulation. So your audit and FAR are somehow, obviously, they complement each other. Some students ask me which is the best combination if you want to appear 2 exams at a time. I normally devise FAR and audit. And you can see there are TBS, that's a task-based simulations. That's nothing but a case study. They will give you a case study. On that basis, there would be a couple of questions. Those could be objective, those could be computational, those could be written communication, specifically in BEC. If you can see business environment concepts, there is something called written communication. That's more of a essay type, where you have to write a memo or explain certain concept to your CEO or something like that. And of course, when we talk about the TBS, those are real case studies. So you can see almost 8 case studies in each exam, except for the BEC, where there are total 7 TBS, including 3 written communications. So 4 simulations and 3 written communications. So that's the structure. And as you guys rightly said, the 75 is the number. But trust me, I would definitely request you guys to take that as a 85 as a number. So you so that you get at least 10% of a margin of safety. And yes, also it's important that we need to understand that with Beckers, there will be some important questions and practice mock exams. Those will make sure that you are very well prepared for this kind of format of the exam, right? Okay, so your current version of the uniform CPA exam. So again, we need to understand what all is expected. So you need to have, from all the 4 subjects perspective, you need to understand that you need to have certain skills, right? You need to have certain professional knowledge of certain professional responsibilities, communication skills. Now that's tested in the Guru. The TBS is task-based simulations, case studies. We also call it as case studies, task-based simulations. So that's more of a skill sets which are expected once you are through with the CPA exams. So effective communication skills, as I said just now, is essential when specifically we talk about of BEC. right? So these are the skill sets they're expecting you. Remembering and understanding. Obviously, we generally, the way we teach, we generally don't encourage a lot of ratification or mugging. But yes, memorizing and ratification are two different things. If you understand and then remember something, that's not called mugging, right? So that's something that's more of an application. That's the next skill set. And then we talk about the analysis and also the evaluation. So all those skill levels are required when we're talking about the CPA exams. So what are the question types here based on the each skill set? So remembering and understanding, having a good amount of percentage as far as it talks about your audit specifically, and application as well. But when it comes to the BEC, the application is 50 to 60%. And BEC, most of the students take it lightly because business environment concepts, that particular subject is mixture of economics, costing, financial management, IT, or professional ethics. So there are different rather internal control or ERM frameworks. So all that is combined in the BEC, and people are sometimes taking that as a little complacently. No, this is too easy, but there are a lot many application based questions over there. Same goes with FAR. Indian students specifically say, oh, accounting is हमारे बाएं हाथ का खेल है. That's then that's complacency sometimes can become tricky. You need to understand that how the the revenue recognition specifically, for an example, certain criteria have changed off late, or it comes to operating leases. So there are different areas where the rules have been changing. Regulation for me is one of the most critical subjects of all the four. There is a challenge with audit because in audit you have most of the questions like which of the following the auditor will best best for an auditor to collect as an audit evidence, or which of the following audit procedures will an auditor first do, something like that. So the problem with audit exam could be that a particular question can have all the four right choices, but you have to look at the best answer. With the regulation, on the contrary, you need to remember a lot of stuff. Trust me, if you see that from a regulation perspective, it comprises of two parts, like 70% of tax and 30% of law. So there is a lot of business law over there, including the bankruptcy, the secure transactions, and then there are certain business law elements like agency, suretyship, contracts. In terms of taxation, you have individual taxation, partnerships, corporations, estates, gifts, property taxes, and all that. So all that in your four sections. So you can see different topics on a broad perspective. Audit, you have professional ethics, risk model, your audit procedures, audit reporting. FAR have the entire conceptual framework, financial statements, your different components of the financial statements will be discussed in details. Governmental accounting is a very important piece over there. BEC, as I said, it's including the economics, financial management, IT, costing. Regulation, I already explained you. The law part, you can see the first couple of one, and then the last three into the taxation piece. So for me, if you ask me, I normally believe that students find regulation from a memorizing perspective, little having an edge over other three subjects from a complexity perspective, because you have a lot to remember in regulation, a lot to remember. May I ask you guys, if you can raise your hands, is like how many of you are either holding a master's degree or a chartered accountancy or some professional degree? Master's, MBA, or CA? Anyone here? Okay, let me change. Okay, so I have few hand raises. Thanks. Let me change that question now. How many of you are only graduates or pursuing post-graduation or pursuing CA right now? Okay, so many are there, in fact. So Rajesh, you are a CA and CWA. Guru, MBA. Veena, you are MBA. So yeah, so I think most of you having that kind of a background, definitely I'm sure you will definitely not worry about most of the basic concepts, because there is something something or the other which is already from a pretext perspective being covered in our Indian education system. So those things will help you. That background will help you to basically come up to the pace. Definitely things will be different. You just can't compare what is in India, what is in US. There would be similarities, but yes, why I asked that question is basically having that foundation. At least I'm sure most of you have that foundation. Okay, so again, this is more from a CPA exam blueprint. Now you can get this blueprints at an AICPA website as well. What all is or what all is expected here. You can see in audit perspectively, they're talking about ethics and the different audit engagements, what all areas they're talking about. So that's a skill set perspective. Then what are the exam timelines? Now this particular slide becomes important. This is what I was talking about, that you need to basically do a back calculation. Like today, if I plan for CPA, this is December 2020. And for example, I'm a raw person. I don't know anything about CPA. And I think that, okay, let me prepare at least two subjects at a time and let me try to appear in the month of May. And that's what I target. Now I have to calculate, okay, May exam dena hai, then definitely I will have to apply for NTS in the first week of March. And that means I have to get myself submit the documents for evaluation today itself, because evaluation take a month or two. That's something I can't delay. So our coordinators will help you for the evaluation purposes though. So you can't delay your evaluation definitely, because for evaluation there is also a pretext. There is a precondition for evaluation also, that you need to have your educational transcripts. Now the transcripts to be obtained from your colleges or your university also takes a time of around 2 to 3 weeks. And with the pandemic, you know that there are delays everywhere. So please don't delay your administrative stuff like evaluation, transcripts and all, and then back calculate from your examination target months. Enroll today, submit for evaluation, and then you are talking about preparation starting immediately. And then once you reach somewhere in the March, then you need to basically apply for your NTS if you are basically planning to give in the month of May. So I'm just giving an example here, right? But one more important thing I need to tell you, that if we are all in this seminar, we are there for a reason, right? If you're still asking yourself a question that whether I should do a CPA, okay, let us take a quick hand raise for that as well. How many of you are still thinking whether I should do a CPA? Still not yet decided. Okay, good. Thanks for being honest. Let me change your perspective today. Trust me, guys. You should change the perspective and change it to ask a different question to yourself: whether I can afford not to do CPA. Trust me on that, because back in 2008, I qualified in 2008, but I enrolled myself in 2007 and around about the same time. 2007, I was wondering, there was not much education, not much awareness. You can very well imagine 13 years back. And trust me, and when it was more of a 50-50 game, and I thought, it's a choice about the education degree, and that too a global one, let me go ahead with that one. Now you guys are privileged to have so much insight into it. We are there for making you understand the importance of this course, especially the time where the economy has been on a downside, because it will take certain time for you to qualify. Imagine when everything will be back onto the normal phase, then you can't just tell your contractors or your employers, just wait on for a few months, let us complete our CPA. You can't tell them, please wait on. So it's better that by the time they invite you, you're already having that qualification with you. Trust me, that is a very important thought process you need to understand. Another important point on this slide, once you appear in your exam, there is a thing called 18 months window. Once you receive the result of your first exam, from the date of the result of the first exam, from that particular date till 18 months, you have to complete all the 4 papers. Else you will lose the credit of that very first exam. So within an 18 month, you need to understand that, please, within 18 months, you need to complete your all the 4. But why do we worry here? We are not even looking for 18 months. We are targeting it to wrap it up in 10 to 12 months, right? Why don't we ever worry about this? Yes, this becomes worry for someone at a senior level, or a middle level management, or a senior level of a company who has a lot of job pressure, hectic schedule. Those guys generally plan to prepare for, say, one exam at a time. So then it becomes tricky when you are preparing for one exam, 3-4 months in one exam. Then after 12 months, 15 months, you are under a little pressure when you are done with 3 exams or only one left. So Rajesh, first exam means like any of the 4 subjects, I mean, right? So whether you want, so you can appear in any of the 4 in any order. You can appear in audit, FAR, BEC, or regulation, right? So that's something I was talking about. So that's what I was talking about. The application, 2 to 4 weeks to process. NTS, that's what they have mentioned in the bottom. Yes, in India, it continues from January 2021. So that's okay. That's pretty much okay here. Yeah, most welcome, Rajesh. Score releases, now that's important. Need to know that once you appear in the test in the April or May, that's a Q2 testing window. So your examination Data files from Prometric are received between that period. So you will get the result somewhere, uh, for the three subjects around August 17th, or for BEC for August 22nd. Now these dates might be updated in future, of course, depending on the work pressure of their centers and all. So July, August, September, Q3 testing window. Again, they're talking about if you take on and off before the exam by 10th September, you will be getting the result around 19th September or 25th of September. So that's something which we generally get from a score perspective. So anyways, these dates depend on, what kind of a, work, I would say load with the centers, those or the target, the institutes which are responsible for releasing those scores. So you can see from Jan to June, they are giving you a brief idea that if you take your exam before 23rd January, you expect your score release by Feb 9. By, these are different dates. I think you can refer to later on as well. So more or less, roughly, it's like few weeks gap. Maybe in some days, on some dates, it's hardly a couple of weeks, and you can see that maybe few dates are having hardly 10 days gap where your result is out, right? If you are on the extreme end of that particular exam date. So multi-stage tasking, again, that's something very much important concept of this particular examination. What happens is that now some people say that it's a myth, but the way the CPA examination works around is there is a pool of questions, right? Just imagine there is a big ocean, a lot many fishes are swimming in that ocean. You need to understand that uh, the entire ocean will be filled of various type of you know CPA exam questions. So they may be throwing up different questions in your testlet. Now based on, generally the first testlet is a medium difficulty level. Generally that's the criteria. And now if you find your second testlet a little bit tougher, you should be actually happy, not nervous, because you did well in the first testlet. Now that doesn't mean that you intentionally don't do well so that you get a mediocre or an easy testlet too, because obviously that doesn't work in your favor either. So don't get bothered by this. It's just that, okay, that it's a very tricky situation, that if we do good in one of the testlets, then the second testlet may be tougher. Now what is this testlet? Testlet is nothing but like parts of the examination. We talked about the types of the questions, certain MCQs and certain TBS in one of the slides. So every exam will be having 5 testlets, 5 parts. And once you submit one part and go to the next part, you can't go back to the previous one. So that is something you need to remember. It's not like in India, we give certain examinations, part A, part B, part C, and we can, go back and refer to the sheets. It's a computer-based exam. So you can proceed to the next testlet only when you are submitting the first testlet. And once you have submitted, you can't go back. So you can review the questions, revisit the questions within that particular testlet, not the previous ones. Right? And then you proceed. Once you have the testlet 1 of MCQ and testlet 2, then you move to your TBS, task-based simulations. And then in case of only BEC, you have written communications as well. So this is something I've already briefed you about earlier. Okay, so about the timing, how to manage. So first testlet is the MCQ, then the second testlet is the MCQ. Now, if you want to take break in between, you can't take the break within a testlet. Once you submit the testlet, you can take a break, but your time will continue. Please understand, your time will continue. You have 4 hours exam. So there is a break provided by them, provided by the system after your 3 testlets, first 2 of MCQs and the first of TBS. That's the break where you have a standardized break of 15 minutes, and then you have the balance of the examination. Now, for every particular examination, you can refer to AI CPA later on as well. There is some guidance on the time management. Roughly, you should not be taking more than 40 minutes per testlet. That's what they recommend. Because from a time management perspective, so what are the number of MCQs asked in each of the subjects. So you have to accordingly practice your questions. Generally, 1.5 minutes should not be more than that for per MCQ. Now, I talked about the simulation. Now, this is just as an example here. You can see that they've given you certain, more of a different type of simulation where certain simulations or the case studies have a particular information presented to you and certain exhibits like certain attachments, and there you are expected to visit each and every attachment. Like in email, you may have 6 attachments, and you can't respond to an email unless you see all the 6 attachments. Similarly, in the case study, if they're giving you some abstract certain documents, then you need to understand, you need to go and see each and every attachment, because that attachment, that exhibit may be useful to answering certain parts of the questions. Unless and until you don't get the information from there, you will not be able to. Now that means you need to practice a lot, and you need to manage the time, and that's pretty doable, trust me. Once you do 2 or 3 simulations at your end, we provide the Becker's access. Once you do those simulations, it's pretty much comfortable. Initially you think that it's hard, but that's the case with everything. That's the learning curve, right? So once you are familiarized with that, you will definitely learn that, right? So, and there are different types of questions, by the way, when it comes to the you know the this case studies. There could be objective type, there could be a drop down, there could be fill in the blanks, but there could be any question. But you need to understand, if there are certain exhibits, those questions, those answers could be drawn from the exhibits. Now there is another interesting type of questions called a research type question, where they will give you a kind of an intranet facility, authoritative literature. They will be asking you a particular provision and a section to that. You need to just search with an internet which particular section talks about of that particular provision. Like in IRS, you're not expected to ratify, to mark the different tax laws, sections or subsections. They will give you a particular provision, they will ask you which section talks about that, and they will give you an internet facility called as authoritative literature. You have to search for that particular provision and quote that section. So you will be, it's more of a kind of an open book thing, right, for that particular question. So this is a particular example I was talking about. They are giving you certain set some questions there, and then they are giving you certain options. For example, there is a particular line, whether you agree with that particular line, or you want to delete that particular line, or that line has some problem, there is some other numbers. So this is particular example of how does the case studies look like. So again, you can see there is a minutes which is mentioned here just as an example, as one of the exhibits, right? They can give you an abstract of the P&Ls or the consolidated financial statements. This is what I was talking about, research-based simulation. You can see as an example, they're talking about that you have a Lani Financial offers the credit cards to the college students at a variable rate. The company also charges annual fees and all. Which section of the authoritative literature best defines and how and when you should recognize the annual fee revenue? So it relates to the revenue recognition. Now you need to have an authoritative literature for that. You need to have an authoritative literature for that. So based on that, once you have, just give me a second. So there are too many dogs just outside my house, and when I came to revenue recognition, they are not liking it. So revenue recognition, as I mentioned earlier, that FAR is something in your accounting. Revenue recognition has undergone various changes in last 2-3 years, so that's something you have to be very careful of. So answering these type of questions, you will be getting some kind of authoritative literature, so that when you practice, you will have many questions like these, and you can just make your hands dirty, how to look, how to surf. I'm sure you are all tech savvy, you know how to serve something and quote a relevant section. It may sound easy, but it can also be tricky, because you can't hurry up into the answer, because they're looking for a section, subsection, subclause, and particular rule. You can see four blanks over here, right? They're talking about a particular FASB codification here. So this is the kind of question which comes in almost all the exams except for BEC. In BEC you have a written communication, right? In audit, FAR, and regulation you will have a research based simulation. Now I don't agree with the next slide, trust me. Like as in when I say I don't agree, is what I mean is these are the number of percentage people who are passing these, and trust me, 2020 has been wandering year. Till 2019, most of these numbers were less than 50, around 45, 50, 45, 50, though that was the number somewhere around that. But 20, because you can already see that people has realized that pandemic, because of the pandemic, people have actually realized to upskill themselves. So, and they are performing really well. So here we are talking about better numbers in 2020, so that's a good sign for you all as well. Now I need to also highlight that why I don't agree with these numbers. The reason is that, why do we look at how many people pass as a CPA. Okay, as a broader guideline, should we use that course? Should we actually go for that particular course? Now, trust me, uh, you need to understand on which side you are. You need to understand on which side you are. When I mean what on which side you are, like there are 100 people in a cinema hall, 50 people go in theater 1, 50 people go in theater 2. There could be one theater having a good movie, another theater you may not be liking the movie, but it all depends on a preparation. So if there are 100 students, 50 students go in hall A and 50 students go in hall B. Now the hall A students were extremely well prepared, were like scoring around 85, 90 while they were preparing. They prepared the entire course 3 times, 4 times. In the hall B, the students who hardly prepared for once or twice, they were scoring hardly 70, 75 in their practice sessions. So what happened in the hall A, the results were like 90% people passed as CPA. In the hall B, the results were like 5 to 10% people passed. And we combined when those 100 people, the result were here in front of you 50 or 60%. Now I want to ask you whether you want to belong to hall A or hall B. That's what it is, right? So what I'm trying to say is, if you believe in yourself, if you prepare thoroughly, if you are there 90%, 85% plus, if you do the entire course thrice, why should we even look at these numbers? Okay, these are ballpark numbers to make a belief in ourselves. When including the average students, there is a passing rate of 65%, 75%, like regulation quarter 2, we are pretty much safe. Don't get complacency into it. Believe in yourself and hard work. So that's what it is. But I'm telling you that last few years, this number was pretty much low. This shows that students have realized that this is the perfect year to capitalize, right? So this is what the key punch, that Beckers will provide you the best of the questions, best of the platforms, and will definitely help you to prepare to maybe double your chances of success. So why Beckers? Obviously, there are many students, including one recent student of last year from my own batch in Delhi. He was fastest Indian to actually clear all the 4 exams in at the best or the highest marks. He got like 98, 99, 97, and 98, all the 4 subjects. So he won that what sells Elja what sells award, that was 96% and above, right? And the best part is, the Beckers, with one of the most trusted publications of AICPA, they are talking about mirroring almost the examination blueprint, a type of questions, the difficulty level. There are many organizations, they are including the big four, they are using the Beckers for the same reason. Now what does Beckers provide you? They provide you a lot of videos which are there. So obviously at EduPristine you will be having Beckers access, so you will be having the live lectures from trainers like us, but also you will have the Becker's access, which has the video, which has the recorded lectures. You have the online books, you have the test bank, you have the mock examinations. By the way, the last point, 2 final exams, they're actually updated to 3 exams now. They're giving you 3 mock exams. So you have multiple choices, you have a lot of simulations, you have 3 exams here. And also they help you to provide your study plan in your own portal. So you can make your own plan, on what dates you want to cover which particular chapters, and then you can monitor your actual performance. So they are giving you a good I would say statistics, how much you have covered, right, from a performance perspective. So these are again there are certain skill practice modules as well, like they teach you certain concepts and they ask you certain case study questions over there. These are the MCQs I was talking about, right? So you have almost, I would say, if you want to ask me how many questions are there of all the 4 subjects, close to 8,000, 7,000, 8,000 MCQs, and approximately, I would say, easily around, more than 600 simulation tasks as well. Trust me, of all the 4 subjects I'm talking about. So this is the mock exam we're talking about. This is very important. There are 3 mock exams per subject, and you can actually practice it and mirror it. You can mirror your performance. You can just shut down yourself in a particular room, lock yourself, shut down your electronic gadgets, tell your family that we are away for 4 hours, and give the exam in the real life scenario. That's something upon how serious you want to make it, right? So that's a mock exam. That will give you an idea of how the real exam will look like. Flashcards is something, they are additional products, something if you want, if you wish, you can definitely buy. It's more of a review or a summary notes, but I guess it's not mandatory. Trust me, it's something, I leave it up to you. But yes, some students want to have a ready-made notes, then they can. I've seen maybe 1 or 2% of my students have gone for the flashcards or for the final review, which is more of an additional product. These are just additional product, and also some supplemental MCQs as well. About EduPristine, as I was discussing about what all we'll be providing. So EduPristine as a part of a global group now, Actilim, and we have our presence at various cities. And as a global group, they have almost 150,000 students now, right? And what are the EduPristine highlights here? Obviously, we are talking about all the faculty pool consisting of industry experts. We are ourselves carrying with almost 10 plus years of experience in industry. And like, for example, I have been the lead trainer at Delhi, almost 13 years of training experience now. Not only that, there are people who will be helping you for placements, or also brushing up your soft skills in case you want to have some help in your communication area as well. So soft skill, what are the topics we generally cover? It's more of a proficiency, communications, your interview appearance, your presentation, and empathy and other attitudes are actually covered when we talk about the soft skills training. So at EduPristine, of course, we provide various platforms, right? LMS, we have our own LMS where we will provide you login ID and password. You can access the schedule. You can definitely post your doubts as well over there. There is a separate support team who will always be there for your help. Yes, Guru, exams are now held in India and they will be continuing for at least next few months. You will have to keep yourself updated, or EduPristine definitely will help you for update news on that. So that's why I'm saying that since examinations are being in India, definitely you should be not even thinking twice whether you should do it or not. So we are talking about various faculties who are having good ratings over there, because every session we request students to give their own experiences about the sessions. So all those are having industry experts. So placement assistance is something we help you. There are a couple of people who in different locations rather, they help you in resume building or even preparing for an interview. And a lot of people in the placement team have good types with some of the good corporates as well. So, and more or less, I think the best thing of all when we talk about the material, that's we are partnered with the Beckers. That's the number one name in the CPA field, at least. So please note down this email ID, that is care@edupristine.com, for all your queries after this session, in case you have some. And our coordinators will anyways get in touch with you. So as I promised, so I have taken, I think, more than half an hour, almost 40 minutes on all these presentations. So maybe we can spend a few minutes here on your queries. As I said, the only queries which I would like to save for the experts, that is people in EduPristine who are specifically working on evaluation or license related queries, I may not be the best person to answer that. Yes, from your preparation perspective, from the CPA examination related queries, or any other subject related queries, you can definitely ask me here. Else other queries you can route to our coordinators, or you can email on the care@edupristine.com. So I have a question from Prabodh. Do we have exams windows every month? Yeah, so Prabodh, that's a good question. Generally, before the COVID pandemic, the examinations used to happen like first 2 months of a quarter and the 10 days of the third quarter, like 1st January to 10th March, then 1st April to 10th July. Like last quarter would be 1st October to 10th December. But now with the pandemic, there have been different, like there has been flexibility in terms of testing windows. Exams have been happening various, almost all the months. But the safest approach is, once you register yourself and once you plan a particular month and you apply for NTS, go to the Prometric website and see what are the examination windows open here for your particular venue. So that would be the most safest one, because I'm sure every 2 months or 3 months going forward, there will be some updates. Till now, there have been exams even on a continuous basis as well, because due to lockdown, there were certain testing months, there were no exams held at those time. Is it fine, Prabodh? Okay. Total cost involved. So yes, for the Beckers, for the EduPristine fees, definitely, our coordinators will touch base with you. What are the offers going on right now? But if you ask me on a broad level, when it comes to the examination, evaluation, uh, because if you are giving in India, then you are talking about the international appearance fees as well. So that's something extra anyways, because we are not traveling to US or to UAE. So we are talking about roughly around 3 to 4 lakhs at least. So that's what I would look for. Maybe including the exam fees, evaluation fees, and the course fees, somewhere around 3 lakhs, right? For eligibility criteria, how much percentage in BCom is considered as first division? So guys, that's what I was talking about. Please don't ask evaluation related questions here. I'm not the right person for answering on the evaluation stuff. So evaluation is something, there is separate team who works on that. Please, I would like to park that question for the evaluation team. Okay, any other person, any other questions other than the evaluation or licensing? So, from a licensing perspective, I would like to just add on that license is not a mandatory thing here. For example, I am myself a CPA. I am not carrying a license because I don't want to practice CPA here. I don't want to sign on the balance sheets. I'm not auditing any listed companies of US. So, I want to work in private companies, or teaching has been always my passion, and that's why I'm into a full-time freelance training mode. I'm associated with almost 4 to 5 institutes right now. So, licensing is not mandated. It's up to you. Like many people who are doing CPA, these are going for licensing. Yes, you need to just check your state board rules, because in certain state boards there is some validity. So that's what I can't comment here, because first we need to check which state you are eligible for examination. Then if you want to go for license, what are the license requirements for that state board, because examination and license requirements vary from state board. Here in this particular 1 hour, like 1 hour seminar, I can't just comment on each and every state board here. It's better that you guys have to share your credentials with our coordinators, that this is what you have done. These have been your percentages. Like some of you asked me about what is the first division and all. So you can give the exact details, mark sheet copies and all. They can guide you which particular state board you are eligible for. Now, in some state boards, there is a restriction that, if you want to apply for license, you have to apply within n number of years, like 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, something like that. In some state boards, there is no time restriction. Now, if you don't apply within that time restriction, then you have to, like, for example, today you don't want to apply for a license. For example, I can take my example, say in 2025, I want to travel to US, and then I want to apply a license. And then I realize, oh, this particular state board doesn't recognize my credits anymore. They will ask me to reappear in the exams. Then what? I will take care of that requirement at that stage. Why do I worry about today? But if I'm pretty much sure today that I want to apply a license, I'm pretty much sure. And if I want to give my exams, then I would definitely like to understand those requirements, state specific requirements, then by when I need to apply my license, and then accordingly plan. So it is all individualistic approach here. So I can't give a generalized answer for that query. Okay, another question is, in India, MNCs, Big Four, KPOs prefer US CPA, ACCA? Yes, definitely, because all these companies have their US clients, all the industry may be a US company itself. For example, I worked in Whirlpool. Whirlpool was a US company itself. Now, certain roles may want you to have a double qualification, maybe an Indian as well as a global. That's what I was talking about earlier. And that's why CPA becomes mandatory. So they definitely would want a US qualification. Again, whether you want to choose between a US or a ACCA or something like a CMA, that's something depends on the company you're talking about. If it's a UK company specific, they might want, they will give an edge of their local qualification. If it's a US company, they will definitely want a US. If the company is situated in any other country, they might give an edge in a US CPA. Who gets higher pay? I would say CPA ones. Again, if you are working in a UK company, my friend, then even ACCA might not be bad. So it again depends on what do you want. But ACCA is something which will take longer, right? ACCA will definitely take longer, in spite of certain exemptions, even if you get some exemption on few subjects. So I've been taking ACCA lectures as well. So that's a different ball game. So if you are interested in ACCA, then definitely you can touch base on those inquiries with the coordinators as well. Then we have, if we are working in an Indian arm of MNC, then do we require to have a license? Again, Prabodh, I think there are two things. Whether you yourself want to practice as a CPA sometime in future, that is one. Second, the state board with which you have given the examination, does that state board have any kind of a time restriction for license application? If you have to apply as license in 3 or 5 years, then I think then you should plan for license as well. But if your state board doesn't have any time restriction, certain state boards doesn't have time restriction, your credits are valid for a longer term, then you don't have to worry. Generally, the companies may not require you. That's my experience. In India, I have seen, like, the things may have changed in the last 4 years though, because last time I was in corporates in 2017, like, I can think of an example that if some US company setting up a smaller office in India, and they are just specifically wanting someone to just handle the Indian operations and also work for their US controllership role, they may actually want you to acquire license. So that could be possibility. But on a larger note, I have not seen companies having a mandatory requirement as a license to work in India. That I have not seen in my lifetime, and I'm sure that that will not be there, because benefit of having a US license are more when you're practicing or you are working as a part of a or a CPA firm in US, right? I hope, Prabhu, that was helpful. Okay. Then we're talking about any exemptions. No, my friend, you don't need any exemptions, my friend. There are only 4 subjects. Why do we need exemptions, right? 4 subjects here. So whatever qualification you have, all of you are sailing in the same boat. 4 subjects. Okay, so then we have another question. Scope of artificial intelligence data mining for a qualified US CPA. Yes, if you are a qualified US CPA, you want to do some course in the IT side, I would definitely go for it, because fintech is something has been in, right? But yes, that would not be a substitute for a qualification, for a global qualification. Definitely, you can think of that as a complementary, because fintech is something, be robotics and everything else has really evolved big time in last 5 years. Was a pass percentage to qualify in a paper? I told you what pass percentage you want. 75 is the minimum required by the AICPA. But if you talk about how many people qualify as a CPA, then again, you can see 65%, 70% people clear. But as I told you that, if you are prepared well, if you have prepared the entire course at least 3 times, you're practicing and you're scoring around 85 plus, then I'm sure there are more than 90% probability that you will be clearing. Minimum requirement from AICPA is 75, but I would request you guys to prepare targeting an 85 plus, because you need to carry that margin of safety. If something goes wrong in the exam, something goes wrong in the examination, you have a rainy day, you need to carry an umbrella, and that umbrella is at least worth $10. So if the minimum requirement is 75, you need to score, you need to practice at your home to get 85 plus every time you're practicing. That will not happen in the first time. That will happen once you do a repetitive study of your course at least 2 to 3 times. Okay. So I think that was pretty much good. Rapid fire round of queries, I guess. Rapid fire round of queries. And I would like to thank you from the core of my heart for making this session so much interactive, especially in the later half or last 20 minutes or so. Any other questions, my friends? Otherwise, you can note down this email ID, care@edupristine.com, to shoot down your queries later on. I'm sure you might have some queries later on as well, so you can please shoot down your query. Otherwise, our coordinators will get in touch with you anyways. So thank you very much, all of you. I hope you found this session helpful, and you gained what you were looking out of this session. And I'm sure you will take the right decision. Again, before we end, I would like to end this session with again the same note. If you are thinking that whether I should do CPA or not, that's a wrong question you are pondering on. You should think whether I can afford not to do CPA or not. So please ensure that you actually, take a wise decision, and be safe. Best of luck. I'm sure we'll meet again in some of the sessions. Take care, everyone.